Has anybody ever had a house that didn't appraise and they got another appraisal and it appraised? Has that ever happened to anybody on here? Okay. Why? Because that appraisal was the appraiser's opinion of value. Okay. So guess what? Guess what happens with inspections? Has anybody ever had a house that the deal fell apart and they got a second inspection from a new buyer and they had a totally different list of stuff? Right. So if there's a material defect and the roof is leaking, freaking get the roof fixed. Right. You already know what's going to be called for. Let's get the roof fixed. But creating a list of things for the seller to do based on this inspector, not the inspector for who's buying the house. Jason, this is your business. You can do it as you will. Jason sees that. It sounds so bad. I see it as, I just want to make sure you understand. This is how I would do it. I'm not saying you need to do it, is what I'm trying to say. That sounded so like whatever third person. I don't mean it like that. I'm just saying I want to deal with what I need to deal with for that deal to get that buyer happy. Not what I think the buyer should want, not what I think the inspector over here should want, because it just opens a can of worms. So watch. You get a pre-inspection, 10 things comes back. Okay. The seller goes and fixes all 10 of those things. So now they're at the pre-inspection costs and the repair costs. What do you think the likelihood of the next home inspector coming along and finding a list of some stuff wrong with? Maybe about 100%. Now the buyer is going to say, well, I want these 5 things done. And you're going to go back to the seller and say these 5 things. You're like, well, we just fixed these 10 things. We've already paid. You see, you're just adding layers of things that you have to handle and deal with instead of dealing with one list. And he's like, hey, there's 15 things. Great. I'll go to the seller and see what what they're willing to do. That's why I'm not a fan of that. And it also can open up material things that the inspector could be wrong on. Okay, so let's say the inspector finds 5 things, and it's his opinion that there's only so much life left in the roof, and the roof's only 3 years old. Well, who do you deal with? Do you tell that, like, it just all of these things that can happen, and I just know I'm going to have to deal with everything over again when the buyer comes.